Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Lead the Future, Change the Conversation. An unedited, honest conversation to create the future. I'm Arjan Visser, Futurist and your host. And join me as I chat with my dear friend Grant Phypers on when healthy leadership is the answer. What could be the question? Grant is an inspirator, podcast host, and a covert leadership whisperer. He stands alongside people in high places and influences those who seek alignment and want to boldly step into who they are called to be. Grant, thank you very much for joining this podcast and navigating with me this question that emerged from all the podcasts I did around the new book, Lead the Future. So thank you for joining.
No, I'm excited. It's always great to hang out with you, mate.
It is, yeah. And I was just triggered a while back by someone who, Kenny is his name, and I have him soon on the podcast too, who actually threw in that question, like, what if leadership is the answer? And in the book, I mentioned a couple of times healthy leadership being the thing I'm aiming for as a leader, as a teacher, and it really got me puzzled. Like, okay, healthy leadership is the answer. What could be the question? And so, what are your thoughts? What could be the question around it? And we can unpack healthy leadership, of course, as well, and just navigate it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you say healthy leadership, it's about, well, for me, in order to get to that place or to walk in a state of healthy leadership, the question would be, well, what am I prepared to change in myself that I need to get to a place of understanding? Well, what does it look like to be healthy and to function, positively and in the right way in my role and the way I treat others? So it's about, what do I need to do? What do I need to change in me to become better at what I do? So it would be looking inwards. Where are my weaknesses? How do I function emotionally, mentally, physically, and combine those? How do I portray that? How do I give that off? How do I relate to other people? So yeah, I mean, would be just, what am I prepared to do with me and in me to become a better leader, and a leader that values health.
Yeah, it got that. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it has to manifest physically as well. So it is personal health in a so body exercise. At the other end, that connects, like, on the full scale, to also where is your mind. What do you believe about yourself, about your future? What do you have to deal with? Like, how can you reduce your blind spot, so that others and yourself don't unnecessarily suffer or have to deal with all the nasty bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And I think that is easier said than done.
Yeah, I think we are impacted by our bodies more than we realize, and I think if we are not cognitively healthy, if we're not functioning or finding out, well, what do I need to do? For example, I wake up in the mornings, my body's tense, there's pressure, my mind is racing, and there's 1,000 things I need to think of. Or how am I reacting to challenging situations? What's my instinct? Do I immediately go on the offensive? Do I retreat, or am I engaged, and do I listen? So I think recently for me, it's I've been looking about being more self-controlled and how I can become better at that in controlling maybe my emotions, um, my go-to, the things that are healthy for me and right for me, what I watch, what I read, um, and putting down and laying down the things that probably uh, didn't help me, weren't healthy, and made me stumble um, in my own personal journey. So I I think we don't pay as leaders I mean, we're all leaders. So whether we're leading our home, whether we're leading ourselves, whether we're leading others, I don't think we pay enough attention to um, the function of our body. And if you said, you mentioned the word mind, and I think how our internal dialogue with ourselves is, how we treat ourselves, how we love ourselves. Um, really does play a part and will come out in the way we engage with people and we lead people. I think that's really
Mm.
important. And I've learned so much about um, that over the last 10 years about what I say um, is ultimately going to come from my heart. It's going to come from what I'm carrying and what I
Yeah.
believe and what I think about myself. And I'm pleased to say that I don't have negative dialogue of thoughts going on a regular basis at all. To be honest, I'm a very positive individual. Sometimes, probably to my detriment, I suppose. Um, but I do know how to connect, and I do know how to be empathetic, and I have compassion for people. And I think that's because I've treated myself well. I'm compassionate towards myself. I am empathetic. I'm an emotional guy. I cry at things that move me. I'm full of joy, and I think those emotions have really helped me to understand others and what others are going for, and really connect on an emotional level. And I think that's
Mm.
healthy.
Yeah. Well, I love what you say about how you explain actually self-control. In general, it's not the word that I like. Um, because it has a feeling, the word of restricting yourself, getting
I see what
getting
you mean. Yeah.
getting grip.
Mm,
But I think a really good redefinition or term, and that's what you explain, is like, why not call it self-leadership,
mm,
which includes, not having an emotional download somewhere, but also includes stepping up in your authority, um, really pursuing who can I become,
mm.
finding language to articulate what I actually deep inside explore as my horizon of where I'm going. My joy, where do I get my joy from? Is that
Yeah.
from everything I'm thankful for, or is my joy also connected to the hope perspective, the future perspective, that I actually explore and use my imagination to actually get something to anticipate to?
Yeah. Yeah. I love connection, and at the moment we've got, including myself, 6 people living in my house, and I suppose if I sit and think about that now, I couldn't be happier because my house is full of life and noise, um, and 20-year-olds apart from myself and my wife. But I love being with young people, and that's part of what I know that I want to do more of, is to help young people find their purpose and explore their full potential. um, and it could be the unlovable. It could be that those that
Mm.
are fatherless. It could be those that from various different backgrounds and upbringings, those that come from privileged and those that are living homeless. It's about just calling out the gold in young people. And I think when we as leaders find our purpose and find the thing that we and you use the word flow earlier on in our conversation. I think when we find that flow, when we find that what we have been created to do, and we find that and we operate in that stream, that really aids and lends itself to holistically how we are as a leader, our health. That will transfer to our emotional, physical, mental state when we're flowing and moving in the very thing that brings us joy and gets us out of bed every day. And I think so many individuals are walking in roles and situations that they know it's not using their it's not calling out the gold in them. It's not ticking the boxes. It's not making them feel alive. It's not giving them a purpose. And I think that's really sad, because when we are operating in the very thing that we've been created to do, we just come alive. It's like our body has engaged, and electricity. We can feel energy. It really does lend itself
Yeah.
to being a healthy individual.
Well, and that connects, I think, to that self-leadership as being the core of healthy leadership, because it's more, it goes beyond alignment of your professional role and what you practice with who you are becoming. It really cuts into that core of, do I understand that I have to lead myself, which means clear the path for others to follow, bring things forth, but also that that future is not a milestone on the timeline. Now, the future is actually the, I think the root word for where we get the word future from actually says that it's becoming your essence.
Yeah.
So when you explain that you love to call out the gold in people, that you only get that position if you practice it yourself, which means you act to someone else. So you've modeled answering to someone else calling out the goal in you. And maybe that is the most powerful thing you can give those or compared to you, very young people in your household, because you ask them in a way to listen to you calling out the goal in them. So you
Yeah.
have to model how to respond through your own life, not with words, but through your own life. And I think that is self-leadership.
Mm.
And we tend to forget that if we want people to listen to us, we have to model listening. If we want people to learn from us, we have to model learning. We have to model following. And that's what I think is actually leadership. Else we reduce it to actually not self-control, but managing them, so that we controlling them. Those we ought to lead by example, we now rob of the example, and we project what we ought to do on them, and they got all confused, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. I think I think we have to really go deep in ourselves to find those areas that we know that we need to work on. And I think when I use the word self-control, it's more about ensuring that I don't go down routes or paths that are going to be detrimental to me, to my health, to what is occupying my thoughts or my time, which keeps me in a cycle of I suppose keeps me in a cycle of pain rather than being released from that, because that inevitably will manifest in the way I talk to people, the way I react to situations. Because if I'm not happy with what I'm doing, if I'm not happy with what's going on with me behind closed doors, then I'm not going to be engaged fully with, and being at peace when challenging times come, because I'm guarded, I'm sort of held back, I'm not thinking clearly, I haven't got clarity. And I think self-control is not about a word that restricts. I think it's about knowing how one operates, and in the best environment, and what's healthy for that individual, and to stay away from things that they know are not healthy, because it's just a pull in the wrong direction. And I think we've got to look, as leaders, we've got to look at every area of our lives. It's what's coming out of our mouths. What are we thinking about? What are we watching? Who are our relationships, and are they healthy for us? And what are we doing to develop and ourselves personally, to grow and to overcome? When we react to something, or something steals our peace, or where we are challenged by something, we have really got to turn around and say, well, why am I challenged? Why have I reacted that way to that? What has that evoked in me? What has that stirred in me that actually has brought sort of alarm bells, thinking, well, I never used to be like that, or I didn't react like that before, and what's gone on? Is there any trauma that I'm still carrying? Is there any bitterness, unforgiveness in me? Is there any issues that I'm still battling with? And because I think we don't just react badly to situations. There's a root to something. There's something there that's causing us to become unhealthy in the way that we manage people, in the way that we put our point across, the way we engage, or the way we don't listen to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just listening to you, actually what I hear is I have to deal with any sense of lack. Because when I make time, that's already, time is lack, it's limited. When I make time to spend with others, I have to actually not just deal, but actually I should not experience it that robs me of time somewhere else. It's like, if I invest time in my people, it can never be a sacrifice. Although I could experience it as a sacrifice. Like, now I'm not doing my own thing, but I make time. For instance, at home, I could say, like, okay, I'm not doing my own thing. I put my work aside, what I want to do aside, and now I make time, room for those in my household, my kids. That's not a sacrifice. That is investment.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big triggers of healthy self-leadership, that if you experience that sense of lack in your thinking, make work of it, deal with it, because actually the people that around you in your business that you invest time in should benefit you as well, should accelerate you as well. It should not be at the expense of you or your work. Then something is not aligned, then it's not integrated, and then it's not healthy leadership.
I love that word, investment. I think we don't use it enough, and I think we need to look at ourselves and think, okay, what area do I need to invest in now that's going to help me and add value to me, and grow me and develop me, and open up new doors of opportunities, and windows of thinking, and streams of doing new ideas and new ways of doing things. And we can fall into that just routine of the same over and over again, and we're not going anywhere, we're not getting any better at anything, and we just manage the situation. But investment is really important for to be a healthy leader. And that's something I've just taken the decision to do, is invest in a stress coach, someone that I've interviewed before on previous podcasts that I really connected with, and she's got incredible wealth of experience of dealing with and managing and helping an individual walk in their full potential and find out what that means and what that looks like. But actually, at the same time, working through stresses, working through trauma, working through past experiences that have maybe lent itself to the way that I or we react in certain situations when we're under pressure, and learning how to navigate and handle those moments, and put in place tools that have tools that can help us manage those flare-ups or those moments. And for a long time, I've been thinking I want to invest in coaching. I want to invest in someone that doesn't know me, someone that I value and respect, that I know have worked well and really well with other people. And it's about time. I said to myself 2 months ago, it's about time I invested in me now. I've invested so long in, and this isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying that what I invested in and who I invested in wasn't right at the time, but I give out so much, and I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love encouraging and empowering other people. It gives me so much joy, mate. I have this massive, I feel alive when I'm encouraging someone and I'm pouring out into someone's life. But a couple of months ago, I said to myself, right, it's about time. I need to invest in me now. It's my time, and I'm doing more things, not from a selfish point of view, but I'm doing more things that bring me alive. Like, I will take myself up to London on a Saturday, just me, and I will invest in that time, on that day, doing something that I love. And I've really thought, no, I deserve that. I deserve to do that and to do more of that. And yeah, I'm loving this journey at the moment of, okay, I want to do that. I've got a family, they're old enough, they take care of themselves. I spend quality time with my wife. There's a balance there. But instead of just giving out, I need to start to receive.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, our podcast, what are the 3 keywords that could summarize our dialogue about healthy leadership?
3 keywords. Well, I'd say, as I've just spoken about, that investment. I think reflection and relationship.
I like it. Investment, reflection, and relationship. Well, Grant, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Aaron.
I will come back to you. We'll see how in a couple of months' time how we evolve in our perspective. That's always fun to just take it deeper and deeper. But for those who have been listening to our podcast live or in the replay, I really invite you to take any trigger you experience during listening to take serious and connect. Triggers are there. They could be experienced positive, negative, but they're just a trigger. And actually, that's that small voice that from the future, from the inside out, that actually can be received as I need to do something with it. So what I offer you is just connect and start the conversation about why you believe in healthy leadership and what it could do for you to take investment, relationship, and what was the third one?
Investment, reflection, and relationship.
Reflection, serious. So just use businessrevivalist.com/connect to just reach out, or find us on LinkedIn and send us a message. Don't let this moment slip away. I mentioned earlier the book. If you want the book, then it's businessrevivalists.com/book, where you can decide for yourself how much you want to invest. And I would love to just look forward to the future with Grant and with those who connect to take it to the next step and give our society what it deserves, the better, fuller version of ourselves. So Grant, bye for now,
Thanks, Ian.
and
Loved
speak
it.
to you soon. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
take care. Bye.